SCORN is a game I have been waiting to play for a long time. If memory serves, the first time I saw footage of it was in a teaser trailer released all the way back in 2014. The video was pre-alpha footage and showed a brief glimpse into what horrors awaited us in this Giger painting come to life. The textures were muddy, the lighting was way too dark, but the overall aesthetic had me hyped for what was to come. Now, 8 years later, I have finally played through SCORN and experienced everything it has to offer. Let's find out together if the almost decade-long wait was worth it. Visually, SCORN is a masterpiece. It ran flawlessly during my playthrough, and not once did I encounter any lag or stutters. OBS had a different opinion though, and would lag when capturing the game on the highest settings, so all the footage in this video was captured on low. Don't let that detract from SCORN's graphics though, as everything here is absolutely perfect. The world is grotesque and eerie. Fog and dust blows through the macabre set pieces as you explore the corridors of machine and bone. Each texture feels unique, and there are little details scattered throughout the environment like debris, slime, and rot. Walls are disintegrating from the passage of time, and you really get a sense that this place is ancient and is suffering from decay. The environment in SCORN is telling us a story, and it's very much a visual experience. We have no audio logs or written text to tell us about this world, only our surroundings and the creatures we seldom encounter. This works to achieve the developer's goal of being thrown into a world, but does lead to some issues. Because we have no backstory or information about who our characters are, we don't feel connected to their goal. We can make some inferences based on the events in the game, but once you reach the end, you are left with more questions than answers. This can work if there's enough context given to you throughout your journey, but I personally felt more confused and disappointed at the end than I did enlightened and satisfied. I can't shake the feeling that some part of the story is missing, and the developers had to cut content to finish the game. A decision that, I'm sure, was not made lightly. If we take the visual design on graphical fidelity alone though, SCORN absolutely delivers on the 8-year wait. Just take this comparison of a location shown in the 2014 trailer to that of the same location in the final release. This is truly art. Though SCORN is visually breathtaking, the same dedication and polish is missing from the game design. Having more in common with games like The Witness than Doom, SCORN is a puzzle exploration game at heart, a heart that has been crafted from broken bone and cold steel. Most of your experience playing the game will be navigating the maze-like corridors and searching for ways to progress through the hellish environment. This usually means you will encounter some sort of puzzle that you must solve to open a door or create a new pathway forward. Though the puzzles were sometimes frustrating, this part of the game worked for me. Figuring out how to complete these challenges in the context of the world made sense, as your existence in this place is in itself a puzzle. Solving these riddles gives meaning to your journey, and in turn helps you solve the mystery of why you are here in the first place. Though, unfortunately, it never hits that level of understanding I was hoping for. Speaking of understanding, let's talk about the claims of non-linear gameplay. I have always understood that non-linear gameplay was synonymous with open-world game design. The Fallout series, Elden Ring, World of Warcraft, etc. It confuses me when games like SCORN claim to be non-linear, like here on the Steam page, but are in truth designed with a single path to follow. There are open areas you can explore, and there is no restriction on movement in those places, but the goals to progress are only solvable one way, except for a single puzzle in the beginning of the game. This claim of being non-linear might be a description of what the game was intended to be, but in its final release, I don't believe that rings true and is misleading. What baffles me about this description is that it isn't needed at all. Everything in SCORN feels handcrafted, and the design of the gameplay elements make your interactions with the world feel cohesive and believable. A linear approach with this design works well, and pulls you into the macabre world. Take the way you regain health and store ammunition. In most games, you can pick up tons of healing items and ammo, suspending your disbelief of where all these things are stored. In SCORN, you have a physical object that acts as a container for both of these systems. It is held in a parasitic hand that is dug deep into your chest, and exists alongside your character in real space. You can only carry what the spider-like pod can hold, and because of this, you have a tangible understanding of what and how many of these items are at your disposal. Even the inventory menu is presented in a physical way, where your character holds up 4 hands holding the items you are carrying. This is where the game design peaks in its execution, but, as you may have expected, leads to some issues. Because your ammo and healing inventory is limited, combat at times feels unbalanced. Generally, when you discover a new ammo or health station, threats will be dispatched immediately to make use of your newly found arsenal. This isn't a problem in and of itself, but what it does do is create a lack of utility in subsequent fights. The Steam page description states that this feature is meant to have the player face decisions of when to fight and when to take cover, but the problem with this is you don't know what you don't know. You have no idea what other enemies lurk around the next corner, if any, and conserving ammo for a fight that may or may not be coming is difficult when you are faced with threats in the moment. The solution in these situations is usually to just run away, which in some scenarios creates a game of cat and mouse that can last for minutes. I understand that the developer was trying to create a sense of dread by having these creatures overwhelm you, but in reality it teaches you that the best solution is apathy. Ignore the threat and only deal with the ones that are absolutely necessary. Tedious at its best and frustrating at its worst. What's missing here is some sort of stealth or sneak mechanic that would truly let you avoid certain fights and conserve your resources for later battles. One way to do this would be to tie in some sort of pheromone or scent masking mechanic that could be integrated with the spider-like pod. Perhaps you can pick up sacks of fluid from certain organic objects in the environment, and then squeeze out the liquid to cover your body in the enemy's scent, effectively masking their ability to sense you for a limited amount of time. Using the same mechanic that is implemented to store ammunition and health, you could cap the amount of these pods the player could hold, creating a better balance between the need to fight and the need to avoid, all while conserving the cohesion of the world. A cohesion that is almost perfect. Everything you find in this world feels like it belongs, and that it had a purpose before your character found it. That purpose might be obscure with our limited knowledge of the world, but the object's existence fits with what we have seen. But, for some odd reason, the one aspect of the game that doesn't follow this rule is your character's HUD when displaying reserves of health and ammo. Instead of something physical that exists in tandem with your character, like the spider pod for ammo and health, your current HP and ammo counts are shown as a screen overlay. Other games have achieved the ability to build these systems into the world itself, like Dead Space for instance, and it's strange that developers of SCORN didn't add some way to view these stats in physical space. And right now, you might be starting to notice a trend. Aside from SCORN's visual design, the other aspects of the game fall short of being fully fleshed out and developed, as if there was a concept here fully realized, but not fully implemented. Luckily, for us though, the sound design didn't suffer that same fate. I have read other reviews that said SCORN has lost some of its atmosphere over the long years of development, but I completely disagree. Like the visual design, the music and sound effects are nearly perfect. The soundtrack is eerie and foreboding, and the sound effects convey weight and presence. From your footsteps on various materials, to the sound of the disgusting creature slithering throughout the world, I fully believe that the audio I was hearing belonged to this hellish place. Weapons fire with a punch, and interacting with objects gave a sickening organic sound that made me squirm. The soundtrack was also a great companion to my journey throughout SCORN. It reflected my own thoughts and feelings as I explored the nightmarish world. In the beginning, it is somber and droning, but as you make progress and reach your goal, it becomes orchestral and almost angelic. giving you a sense of enlightenment and relief. You have reached the place that you have been fighting so hard to get to, and both you and your character relish in its majesty. The culmination of all the elements of SCORN is a grotesquely beautiful game that gives us a chance to explore a flawed but stunning world. There are definitely aspects of the game that could use improvement, and not all the ideas that are used here work to their fullest extent, but the journey through this unknown place is worth the frustration of these shortcomings. What I don't think is worth it, though, is a 4 to 5 hour experience for a $40 price tag. As much as I loved SCORN and the atmosphere it created, I find it hard to recommend this game at its current price. Other reviews have stated that the game takes 6 to 8 hours to complete, but I finished my first playthrough in just over 4 hours. To the game's credit, it captivated me enough that those 4 hours were spent in a single play session, but I felt disappointed upon reaching the end of the game. If offered for $20, I feel like SCORN would have met expectations for that price point, but at its current value of $40, I feel it doesn't hit the mark. Luckily, if you do want to play SCORN at a cheaper option, it is currently available on Game Pass, which will only run you $10 a month, and there are plenty of other games to check out after finishing SCORN. So, was the wait worth it? I'll let you decide that for yourself. For me, the answer is yes, but that's just because I'm a sucker for weird shit.